Well, let's put a little bit of sky in places here. I've mixed some yellow ochre and some titanium white. And we're gonna make that into a sky. Not the source of light for the painting, but certainly some light poking up from behind. Okay, a little heavier on the yellow ochre now. And for the moment at least, I don't want to be too finicky with my brush strokes, don't want to get too soft. Let's carry that down to here, actually. Let's say that that's poking through the bush in places. Alright. Let's just go to a brighter shade of white right around here. Alright. Back to our yellow ochre. We'll add a hint, and I mean a hint, of alizarin crimson. I don't want to go too pink. Whoops. And I don't want that debris in there. As we get further away from our spot of light, we can afford to add a little more alizarin crimson into our mix. And again, I'm not mixing a big pile of color. My mixing pile on my palette always stays small. Well, for a small painting, you know, if it was a larger painting, it'd be a different story. But I just don't want to end up with an over mixed brushstroke, because that brushstroke looks too flat. It looks too much like the paint you use on the walls in your home. Alright, so we're going a little lower value here now. I'm going to cut in there. I'll cut into here. I'll darken that one a little bit. I like this. Alright. So now we've slowly gotten a bit redder. Now I'm going to use just a little yellow ochre and more alizarin crimson. I'm going to add a touch of ultramarine blue to it. And although really what it looks like is maybe it just looks a little bit dirtier now, but in fact it is moving towards purple. Because our alizarin crimson and ultramarine blue mix is starting to take the stage now a little bit. Okay, I don't want too much life in the sky. I might be a little bit, generous with my, or not generous enough with my value at the moment. No, I think that's going to work. I think that'll be okay. I think these ones down here I might not paint in. I might just leave those dark. But for the moment we're not gonna worry too much about that. Okay. Holding my breath here as I go. Okay, I think we're on the right track here. Excuse me. Some of these longer straight lines I will cut into a little bit because I don't want them to appear to be too geometrical. I don't mind a little bit of it, but it can be a little bit distracting if you have too much of it. So we'll just break the line here and there. All right. I think we're okay for the moment. That's a very strong branch. It's okay. We'll worry about that later. If we need to, we can always adjust our proportions. But happy with that. And let's then let's skip painting the trees for the moment. And we'll go to I'm just going to put in a couple more lines. Not much. Today is, well, lawn mowing day again, but I have other issues. If you know, if you really love your garden equipment and your lawnmower is your child, is your baby, then I have a problem child. It's giving me nothing but grief. So I'm going to go out and for probably the third time, I'm going to take the carburetor off my lawnmower, and I'm going to have to play with it a little bit because it just doesn't want to stay running for me. I've done a bunch of homework online, small engine repair type stuff. My lawnmower is only 3 years old, but I'm not impressed. Okay, let's go with... We're back to our yellow ochre and our white, but I think I'd like to go with a little bit of raw umber in there as well. Let's do a swatch. Let's just see how it looks. These trees aren't going to remain that dark, so I don't mind if there's a little more light in the foreground. Might have a tendency to look like water, but I'm not going to worry about it. Hey, we might end up making it into water. I don't know. You certainly see lots of drainage canals around here that border fields that hold water. Anyway, some things are best left to the imagination, in my view. Okay. We'll go a little lighter now. A bit of yellow ochre, a bit of raw umber. And how about if we add a hint of ultramarine blue to that? That brings us into even greener territory. Okay, that's a post. I don't want it to be too thick. That post is leaning over. I don't want a bunch of straight posts there. That's no good. What's the fun in that? Painting should have character. It should have flaws. Because the natural world has flaws. Or are they intentional irregularities? I don't know. Out of my brush. Okay. We're fading off to the edge here. Okay. That's going to work. As long as my brush work looks direct and intentional, I'm happy. That'll do. Let's leave that little space dark, shall we? Now, bottom is fuzzy, I'd like to sharpen it up a little bit. Okay, good enough. Now let's go colder. I'm going to mix cobalt blue into it now. And a bit of burnt sienna. That's maybe a little darker than I'd like. We'll add some white to it. It's a fairly nondescript color. Sort of a dirty green. A little more white. I'm very tempted to leave. I know the line of the fence will have some uncut grass and weeds poking up around it, so I tend to leave that in the form of a dark line sometimes along the base of the fence. And I think I'll just continue that fence base, or that line right across here. You know, it repeats this. I don't think there's too many other lines that are going to go, not full length, not full width of the panel anyway. So for the moment, that's what we'll do. But we're coming into foreground, and I don't think I want to go very dark. I'm going to go with a little more cobalt blue. I'm going to add a hint of alizarin crimson to it so it's not too cold. Oh, excuse me. Okay. Cobalt blue, a little more alizarin crimson, a little bit cleaner. Whoops, too much white. Just added some white to it and I got a little exuberant with it. Okay. What did I do there? No, I like that. That's just fine. Okay, you might think that's a bit boring in the foreground. That's okay. Because what we'll do is make it less boring. Only slightly less boring though. So we're going back to, now it's cobalt blue, a bit of yellow ochre, a bit more white, a bit of alizarin crimson. Alright, now, strange as it may seem, and you might think I'm cheating, but this signature, which I will put in later, it'll be small. I don't like a loud flamboyant signature. But even that little dark signature, because my signature is fairly long, will affect the content of the foreground. So, you know, people will see that signature in the foreground and not really give it too many thoughts. It's just, oh, it's just a signature. The fact is, that signature adds enough content and breaks up this foreground enough, I think it'll be just fine. No, it's not cheating, because the signature is necessary. And it's important which side you put it on too, you know. I believe this is our strength here. This side of the painting is stronger. This side's a little more cluttered with the fence post. I think we'll put the signature probably on the left to oppose this dark line here and this light that we have here. That'll be a good balance. That's my forecast. That's my guess. Okay, let's just back the camera off again, swear it off. We'll leave it for now. I'm going to get back to my torment with this lawnmower. I need the lawnmower fixed and the lawn finished today, so I should probably get after that. Anyway, you see the variety of the foreground there. And that sky is looking pretty bright, maybe even a little overexposed on the camera, but it's not in reality. Okay, guys. Have a good Saturday.